So here we are back again today. It's good to be with you. We hope you are doing quite well today. I am your host, Nellie Wosu, and I have with me in our second installment to discuss Terry Alston's book. And the title again of that book,
Okay,
Terry, is?
it's flip flops, socks, and white V-neck T-shirts.
Okay, that's it.
Yep.
We've hoped that you've been enjoying the first installment that was out on YouTube, and we've been getting a lot of feedback from it. Um, and we'd also like to get your feedback by putting comments, please, on any of the recordings that you see. Let us know, and you know how to reach Terry, and you can reach us directly through the YouTube portal, and then you can send email to Terry. You know his email. I believe those of you do, and he's on Facebook.
Yes.
So we welcome that, and you can also find myself there. And so, Terry, let's move forward with your book again today. I'd like to know if you have anything in particular you'd like to share with us today.
It's from my book, exactly. I actually have set aside this piece here that I'd like to read for you, if that's okay.
Okay, do we need to be set up with it, or are
Okay.
you just
Well,
going to go
you know
into it?
what? I'm just gonna jump into it.
Okay, let's
Okay.
let's
I'm
go.
gonna jump right in. Okay.
Okay.
The British Airways staff worker pushed the back of my wheelchair at a slow but moderate pace as we neared the ramp of the huge, intimidating-looking plane bound for London. "Are you okay?" he asked. Without hearing so much as a whisper from me, he inquired a second time. "Sir, sir, are you okay?" I heard the nice gentleman, however, my desire to speak had left me some hours ago. Although I was wrapped in my own version of swaddling clothing, the cold air from the Chicago winter made me shiver, starting with my big toe, then working its way slowly up my leg to my calves, as they both flexed inside of a pair of lightly soiled sweatpants that had been used prematurely at the previous stop as a bathroom. The shiver continued up my leg, but seemed to rest a minute longer in my hip area, which caused a slight tingle to overcome my growing. For the first time in what seemed like months, I felt my penis tighten and grow slightly, but upon realizing his presence, the thought of having or feeling any kind of sexual arousement immediately forced my manhood to rethink its position and retreat and hide. This sensation made me open my eyes to recognize a pretty but sympathetic looking stewardess extend her hand to me. My mind immediately registered that she needed my boarding pass. Having no idea where that was and frankly not giving a damn, I reluctantly closed my eyes, hoping that upon opening again, I would be lying in bed with. And I'm going to stop there. I'm going to stop there.
Okay. Well, you've given us a little bit of a cliffhanger, haven't you?
I have. I have.
All right. So that seems like you're coming from a position of pain.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Was it an emotional pain or was it physical pain?
You know what? It was both, and when you read the book, you'll see what brought me to that point, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
read what brought me to that point. It was really a devastating situation, and so in that moment, not only was I in physical pain,
Mm-hmm.
but just uh, mental agony as well.
Okay. I know you've shared some of your story with me, Terry. You were in Chicago at that airport
Hmm.
and you were on your way home.
Right.
Home to North Carolina? Back home
Well,
to North
at that
Carolina?
time, I was living in Germany, and I had been living in Germany for approximately 8 or 9 years at that point. And so I was actually on a business trip. I was working for a large biogas company in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on a business trip in Iowa, and Chicago was just a connecting flight
Mm-hmm.
city where we had a connecting flight. And so I had in Oklahoma City actually is where I had this experience that brought me to that point. But I was actually flying home to Germany where I was living with my wife at the time, my ex-wife now, but she's my wife at the time.
Okay, so you've made mention before about your living in Europe and enjoying your life while you were there. I would think that since you were not a serviceman, am I correct in that you were not a serviceman?
You know what? I've always said I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Okay, all right,
I
all
was
right,
never in the military. That's correct.
all right. But you've been fighting. You've been
True.
in a war. You've been in a battle.
True that.
So, are you a general or colonel?
I would have had to have been a general, I guess, at that time that I was fighting. I'm not fighting anymore, but
Okay.
back when I used to fight, that type of fight, I had to be ranked pretty high.
And
That's
you're fairly decorated.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
in your state of now becoming a seasoned warrior, warrior of the heart, matters of the heart, which is where I'm always focused. Terry, what can you tell us today about your experiences in Germany as a warrior who didn't want to fight?
Wow. Well, I guess the first thing is I was so fortunate enough to have lived overseas. That's something that I talk about quite often, and I mention it in the book. Just the exposure to so many other cultures that enriched me so much, and it just
Mm-hmm.
changed my life completely. Um, but my time in Germany it was really a nice time. It was such a beautiful country. Anytime I think of Germany or I hear the name Germany rather, I feel differently. I get this sense of freedom inside, this sense of peace and serenity. It's just amazing. Even though I had some bad experiences there, just that area in general, it changed me. I guess that's kind of what I took away from Germany is it did so much to change my mentality, my way of thinking, and I attribute my freedom, so to speak, to that place. That makes sense.
Will you go again there?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I lived there, I also was able to travel to so many other places. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just living. Sometimes I feel like, and I love this great country, the United States. Sometimes I feel like living here, though, it's almost like you're cut off from the rest of the world. But living in Europe, uh, there's just you have access, from proximity wise, especially you have access to so many other cultures and so many other things, and so I definitely go back there, and also so many other places. Living there gave me the understanding and the desire to travel and to be exposed to so many other things outside of my own culture.
So, in essence, you grew more as a man, as a person, as Terry Alston. Do you believe you've grown more there in your maturing?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like this, if you never, the more experiences that we have in life,
Hmm.
the more we seem to know. Whatever we believe, whatever we feel, it's based on only what we know and the experiences that we've had. And so when you add, when you go live somewhere else and you add that to your sort of your portfolio of living,
Yes.
it just it gives you a different understanding of life. You're there and you're living around so many different languages, other kinds of foods than what you experience in wherever you come.
Hmm.
Languages, foods, cultures, customs, all these things you experience in a place that you had no idea about, and so those things shape you. They shape the way you think, what you believe. So it's just great being able to be exposed to another area.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you feel freer there as a man, a black man in particular? Did you feel that you had more opportunity, even though this is the land of opportunity? But I believe the many men that I've discussed these type of conversations with in the past, they always feel somewhat restricted. So, from what you're saying, I sense that there was a great freeing of Terry. You, of course, living anywhere in life in general, we're going to have some challenges, but it seems like just watching your physicality of you, talking to you, you perk up, you're looking up, and you look like you're breathing better, even when talking about it, I can see this, like, because I'm sure that you're seeing images from
Hmm.
the past, and I wonder if there, while you were there, that restrictiveness that is often felt and imposed here, were those limitations obvious there, or were they non-existent for you?
Well, that's a great. Those are great questions and a great way of thinking. If you've never been to another country, especially an area like Europe, even, it would be difficult to know this. But it's great that I can explain this. Being first of all, being black there was surprisingly better. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that might sound crazy, but what I experienced was, and like I said, I love the United States. I love the entire world actually, but I love this country. I was born here. Because of some of the things historically that have happened in this country, from a racial standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
As a black man in this country, you're looked at in a certain way a lot of times. Right now we're going through this Trayvon Martin situation,
Yes,
and
we
and
are.
you can see the divisiveness, and you can see you read some of the comments people make in here, and so as a black person in this country, there are limitations. There's a certain amount of prejudice or racial tension even that you just don't have over there, because the experiences they have with black people over there aren't like they are here. There was never slavery there,
Mm-hmm.
not among black people.
Mm-hmm.
So what they know about you as a black person is what they see in the videos or on TV. And so when you what you bring to the table there, they're interested in. They look at you like an exotic
Yes.
person.
Yes.
So I was treated very well there as a black man. I was on this. I tell this story sometimes. I was on the subway, and I mentioned this in the book too. I tell you, being on the subway one time, and a little German boy touched my skin. He
Mm-hmm.
he's
Mm-hmm.
you know he was it was fascinating to him to see this black skin,
Mm-hmm.
and he just touched it in admiration, and it touched me. It made me feel something inside. So there was a certain amount of freedom there that I had there that you just don't have here. Then there's also the culture is it's very laid back, very easygoing. The priorities aren't the same as they are here.
Mm-hmm.
The priorities there, for example, may be just a nice sunny day is valued there. In most places in this country, that's commonplace. So we just kind of get used to it. But over there, if the sun is out, people come out and they enjoy the day.
So, in essence, although the U.S. is great,
It is.
people are
Yes.
dying to get here.
Yeah.
It is a place to be. I love the good old US of A, and I'm born here. Um, but we do understand that there are restrictions imposed, unfortunately. They're not always said, and it's not unfortunate that they're not said,
Mhm,
but they're actually said very silently.
mhm.
And that is covert, and it doesn't feel good for anyone who is looked at as being less than.
Let me tell you. You know what? It's interesting. Let me stop you. There's another element, and you touched on this in your question just a minute ago, and I wanted to make sure I made this point. Um, for me, and for anyone, when you leave your culture and go to another culture, you take with you things that culture doesn't have.
Yes.
And so what I realized was that, like, there were things that I was able to do in Germany that I would have never been able to do here, simply because what I had as a black American, as an American first, and then adding the black element to it. What I brought to Germany was something that they didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
and so some of the skills, talents, and things like that I brought, it fascinated them, and they wanted it.
Well, there was a good exchange of cultural exchange
Absolutely,
and
yes, yes,
acceptance
yes, absolutely, yeah,
as you as a person, an
yeah,
individual, versus you as being looked at as, oh, he's just a black
right.
guy.
As being linked to a
But
a,
they,
a group,
a
yeah,
group,
yeah,
and oh, it's not just, oh, being a black guy.
yeah,
There's a richness in being black.
yeah.
There's a wealth of experiences, knowledge, particularly a black man coming from the South. There's
Hmm.
a lot of heritage, a lot of intrinsic values that sometimes people from the North are missing unless they were able to actually come home and spend summers in the South like I
Right, that's
used
right.
to, you know.
Yes.
So in the mountains, playing with the red clay, because Carolina has good red clay. Terry, we've enjoyed speaking with you again today. Is there something you'd like to leave us with today?
Once again, I'd like to thank you for creating this situation for me to be able to talk about not only my book, but my experiences, which are also contained in the book. But at the same time, I just want people to listen with an open mind uh, and gain some understanding and inspiration from my story.
Well, I believe your story is going to cut across all racial boundaries,
Yes,
barriers.
yes, yes.
It's a story of humanity.
Hmm.
It's not just a man's story. It's a story of you, and me, and everyone else. I believe it's a story that will cover issues between families, siblings, which is family, but the parent-child relationship, when the child is a child, and then the parent-child relationship when the child becomes an adult, the relationship, the dynamics between lovers, friends, spouses, significant others, and we'll place an emphasis on others in our next segment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
here again with author Terry Alston, the author of Flip Flops, Socks, and
And
White
white
V-Neck
V-neck
T-Shirts.
T-shirts. Yes.
Talk to you soon, Terry.
Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.